live. Hello, everyone. I'm Richard Millett. Get out of there. The one. And this is the quarantine stream, the 50th one. Hope you're all doing okay out there. Let us hear the ever beautiful, ever lovely, ever wonderful, evergreen quarantine stream theme, shall we? Beautiful. From a book I did a few years ago. It's called Diamond Mine. I'll read it and then I'll tell the story. Water rushing so fast it looks like knotted wood. Its sound a ceaseless, perpetual crash in static blue and black. Droplets burst over the plank sides and dot the dirt or land on kicked out bricks, and from the ravine's opposite angle, the water seems to glide clockwise, rolling ever nearer toward the gears and into the factory where 7 years previous the core of the industry sunk unexpectedly early. And like a defense attorney, the treasurer ruled the materials used were archaic and their methods unrealistic, and his demands seized up the foreman and night shift technicians acidly joke they were laboring within the Great Repression. For ages it seemed like the beams from the afternoon sun would come, but we later learned the view was obscured from a flood that started in the diamond mine. We know it's either tacitly implied or we're told outright. You can't be seen like that. You need lights. When money is exchanged and you're finally responsible and realistic, you can't be seen like that. You need lights. Know the value of being articulate and reconsider your obscure subject. You need to stay in the lines. You need to revise. Realize the need to eliminate images that would be unwise to present or ideas you'd be unable to defend. Why persist if honest people cannot implicitly understand? You can't be seen like that. You need lights. For years, it seemed like the beams from the afternoon sun wouldn't come, but we later learned the view was obscured from a flood that started in the diamond mine. Back in the head office, on the desk next to the coffee, scissors, and gold pen set, was that morning's newspaper whose sub-headline read, "Forget Forgetfulness," and detailed a local photographer who makes elaborate, enormous, near-twin gelatin prints of events, one real, one staged, and described the effect as painting over paintings. When asked by the reporter, "Who will get this?" the photographer remarked, "Anyone who misses being pure or ever imagined placing one point in time over another. Anyone who pictures the shape of ideas and not the shape of their mind. Anyone who sees a crowd and tries to find the people in disguise." Later, the paper lay open to the crossword puzzle, and among answers written in indeterminate script were asides like, "Does purpose follow appearance? Where is this from? Reasons better than because." And finally, of course, determining what to become. So I will tell the story. It's not directly related, but in some ways it is. In 1996, I was in an elevator at a college, and there were two people in the elevator, a guy and a girl. And the guy was, and for the purposes of the story, they were black, and the guy was clearly a mentor to this girl, or attempting to be an aspiring mentor. He couldn't have been more than 2, 3 years older than her. They were both fairly young, and they certainly weren't much older than I was. And he was just lecturing her, just browbeating her because of her race, that she could only put certain content into her art, and that she had to be extremely careful about anything she put in, and in effect censor herself, um, because what she had to say about the content of one black character would speak for every black character, which it's um, it's a faulty premise, one could say. And so, um, and he's like weirdly looking at me for some sort of validation or something. I don't know. I was clearly younger than him, or maybe the same age. She seemed maybe a year younger than me, or 2 years younger than me. Maybe it was hard to say, but she seemed like a real freshman, or maybe she was still like a high school student. Anyway, he's kind of like glancing over at me. Maybe he was just trying to see what my opinion was, but he kept glancing over at me so much that I felt like I was sort of being invited into the conversation. So I jumped in and I referenced a Neil Simon play where I said, "Well, if you're an artist and you start censoring yourself, you are forever dooming yourself to mediocrity." And with that, he looked very displeased, and the elevator doors opened. They were getting off before me, and as they step off the elevator, she didn't say anything. He just glares at me, and he they step out of the elevator, and he puts his hand on his shoulder, and he goes, "I will tell you about people like him later." And I can only imagine what that conversation consisted of. But apparently, I had created the great evil because I dared to suggest that an artist should just say what they want to say, and not be hemmed in by the politics of what someone decides that they are supposed to be saying, or that they should not be guilted in um, to saying something. And I'm sure that whatever this girl would have said would have been more interesting than what he could fucking vomit up. So, um, things like that is why the Diamond Mind, poems like the Diamond Mind exist. Browbeating nonsense, masquerading as morality. Here's one I don't do that often, but perhaps I should. I'll tell you, the first time I read this is from my book Salt or Light, and the the first time I read this, I did a few readings in a row, and the reading of this poem was a bit of a disaster. I was pleasantly surprised by the um, because I was coming out of a long period of not really doing any readings, and I was surprised by the readability of Salt or Light. I tried to do something that would have a lot of readability, and the previous book had for basically zero readability. So I was pleasantly surprised by how well these things were going, and then I tried to read this one, and it did not go well. So I was put off it, but I like the piece very much. So we're going to do it anyway. Damn it. Who cares? Oh, this is called The Rabbit and Cowardly Wolf. Jesus Christ. Who cares? An ingrown. No, let's start over. Who cares? An angry, ingrown sore, spreading red and silently whining. The body? What body? The published excerpts. Her body, in a brace of muscle spasms in her right bicep. She'd observe her pet rabbit in its cage and skip past the turn of the century print in her father's office depicting a fox hunt. And yet, just one block away, another rabbit sat in the passenger seat, horribly embarrassed as the cowardly wolf got a breathalyzer and then failed to walk in a straight line. But back to the unnamed girl. I think it might have been Amanda or Amy. When one's head is round as a bowling ball and smokes their shame and presses bare-chested on saplings in the spring at dawn for an unobserved tiny tingle before the roll is called, clearly mockery is uncalled for and exoneration is at a premium. But we shall not allow for a violation of definitions, especially for one as important to this narrative as Amanda or Amy, whatever her name was. No, 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 no. When the rabbit stepped down as the star of his own sitcom to attend to those personal issues, there had been so many whispers about the cowardly wolf suddenly was left without something to watch, emulate, idolize, sneak in a quick jerk during the commercials to argue with, get enlightened by, surprised by, study, evaluate, grade, rate, rape, review, proselytize on the behalf of, display obscure knowledge of, and obviously whinge that it wasn't as good as the early years and that he would know since he was there before whoever he wasn't impressing. But since no other show gave the cowardly wolf the flood of serotonin he craved so restlessly, he grudgingly and pragmatically chose to watch reruns in perpetuity. And why not dress it up a little? For they could be revivals or even better, celebrations. How about reboots on a streaming network, a new institution, a part of our shared experience and ongoing mounting heritage? Clutter. Television was revoked. The rabbit and cowardly wolf decided to intercept their favorite actor's private plane as he touched down at the dullest airport you can imagine. The duo were hilarious to themselves. Is he wearing rayon? It's not like he couldn't afford Ultra Suede. After the actor greeted them with a few quick canned quips, he deftly inked two memories, and upon his departure, the cowardly wolf chided the rabbit about mistaking the actor's autograph for a pictograph. As they later sat in the 50s diner, their root beers run flat, the jukebox unplugged by the owner. Who was that fighter who won a round without throwing a single punch? It wasn't Willie Pep. Which one are you? An afterthought. Welcoming back Amanda or Amy. He spent his first life as Alexander the Great's chariot. He'd get upset when his action figures didn't eat the cucumber sandwiches he'd made. He'd put down his crayons and say things like, "You're Arnold and I'm Willis. No, you're Mr. Drummond and I'm Dudley. Well, I'm Bruce Wayne and you're Commissioner Gordon. No, you're Dick Grayson and I'm Edward Nygma. No, you're wrong. I'm Ryan Sandberg and you're Leon Durham. No, you're Keith Moreland and I'm Rick Sutcliffe." Amanda or Amy. I handed him my ovation, but it wouldn't play. Total silence. He gave it back, and I sounded like Segovia. He tried one more time, and it was like someone had pressed a mute button. I see that you've just wandered in. Would you like to give an account of yourself? The unclean offerings are an example of a permissive society. The long, thin membrane that seems to lead skyward. You are so well spoken, and none of us would have noticed. Reverse gentrification. The committee smiles, the lead lawyer holding out a pen. The rabbit renews his contract on his first project, a mystery called If Only You Were Innocent. Photographs, press conference, no disclosed details of the arrangement. He thanked his agent, Marty Weber, with a note and a fruit basket. The rabbit's people punched up the script with gems like, "Son, you're a born fact checker, right down to the letter. I'll tell my secrets because I don't care." And only dogs try to understand things. Meanwhile, the cowardly wolf had disappeared for 4 days to investigate a garden. He had wanted to make a biopic about himself, but he couldn't secure the rights. The rabbit and cowardly wolf slumped drunkenly against the back wall of their town, with only the moonlight reflecting off their wine bottle. Yet, neither the Harridan butcher's wife nor the laborer pounding spikes shall feel a rigidity known in the necks like the mechanic's racks that feels nor floats a lodestone on the banks betwixt a bell end and an alarm clock. Do you think it's wrong to contradict yourself? Seasick! Since you are no longer allowed to enjoy a glass of water, the cowardly wolf mumbles a roar as that goddamn kid is taking his seat on the train again, off the rails with this wretched decade. Then the remorse, the introspective post-mortem, the fashion, the architecture, the music, the media, the technology, indecisive broad gestures, sweeping changes of subject, conflating, placating terminology with warm sentiment. The cowardly wolf appears to ignore the newsfeed. Deeply flawed, archaic, downright prehistoric, dances over the line of self-parody so often you start to lose the ability to tell the difference. An obvious, forced version of what he used to do so effortlessly. I personally really fucking miss Amanda or Amy. The rabbit and the cowardly wolf get x-rays together, paw in paw at the clinic. Nothing's broken. They just like the way their jewelry looks against their bones in the photographs. At the ballet, the view from the private box is undisturbed, and the rabbit relaxes and holds a bucket of carrots. The cowardly wolf watches him gnaw. They bought tickets using pseudonyms and are wearing new suits with contrasting fedoras and little pasted-on beards. In between acts, the cowardly wolf yawns, "Must they always?" which the rabbit doesn't hear. Then the lights go black. A cameo appearance. The rabbit bribed a policeman, and the cowardly wolf crouched behind a bush, filming it all. And while both are smart enough to accept that this is an inherently artificial medium, they can't stand exposition disguised as dialogue, or arbitrary structural decisions, or the limitations of the budget, or when some exec wants to cast his nephew who just needs a way to break in Amanda or Amy. I've always had such a high opinion of you. Save your dignity. Don't call the press. Preserve the essence of drama, the command, the show that intermittently ends and begins. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Along those same lines, this is along those same lines. I will finish that thought, I promise. It's not totally non sequitur. I promise. Oh, Jesus Christ. Crazy things happening over here tonight, folks. Oh my God. Really crazy things happening. Stuff is just coming out sideways. This is This is called We're Fucked. There's always a better scene. There's always an airlift gala, always a chance to be the superstar you always imagined. I get up and nothing gets me down. You got to jump. Nothing treats me better than a ballet soiree. You got to drink electrical serum to make Atari worth your currency. I believe in the suburbs. I'm a vicarious parasite. I am not John Sway. John Sway was the man of the 90s. Papes called him Buddha. PK called him Sir. I used to call him close personal friend. John Sway used to part the Times Square as if it was the Red Sea. He was the prodigy of technology. It takes a teenage riot to get me out of bed right now. Thurston lives in London. No big hair. Do any of those guys still have hair? I fucking don't. I don't have an imagination. I only have a vision. Madonna giving head to a water bottle in Truth or Dare. Madonna on Instagram asking, why do I have to explain everything when she puts in fronts and pretends to smoke a blunt? Little Lord Corduroy pissing in his pants, and they say R2D2 was a lesbian? Can't you see me standing here? I got my back against the record machine. Baby, can't you see what I mean? You might as well jump. Oh, well, whatever. Never mind. I'm just a boy with a new haircut. That's a pretty nice haircut. Thank you. You want to fuck me Deliverance style? And I know, baby, just how you feel. You got to roll with the punches to get to what's real. John Sway doesn't put up with that shit. John Sway makes Pavlov's dog respond to the sound of lightsabers. I want to fuck Vicky from Small Wonder She Give Birth to a Gigapet. John Sway made the world safe for seam-stitched pants. But he's not just looks, he was the man of the 90s. Doesn't that fucking mean something? Mobb Deep called their record Hell on Earth for a reason. Think about it. Line dancing is Nazi boot camp. I do not have an imagination. It's fun to lose and to pretend. K-R-I-S-T-E-N. What's that spell? Why it's spelled? Propaganda is explanatory fiction, of course. No big pants, especially not right now. I am not bitter. I am not angry. Oh no, I know a dirty word. I cannot write iambic pentameter. Shitty convoluted plotline sitting on the shoreline. I can only write an inline. But something I just have to say is I learned the lesson that existentialism is a bore, and after further recollection, the truth is that some people's lives are worth more than others. For proof on this subject, would you rather have James Earl Ray, or would you rather have Martin Luther King Jr.? Would you rather have Valerie Solanas, or would you rather have Andy Warhol? Would you rather have MDC, or would you rather have John Winston Ono Lennon? I rest my fucking case. Would you rather have them alive and functioning and happy and healthy? I think I know what the right choice is, don't you? Case motherfucking closed. And all the while, John Sway wonders why people pay $20 to hear glam rock from 1972. Did I spill it on you? John Sway was the man in the 90s, but nonetheless, I digress. I used to chew razor blades in the days of Miss Pac-Man and spell my name and piss on this fat girl's front lawn. Walked past it yesterday. Better work out. I hope it works out my way. Was that you? Who said that, baby? How you feeling? I'd rather date an Asian girl because they don't waste time, but I think about John Sway. Hey, who doesn't? I do not have an imagination. Korea. Benoni is in Tangier, stockpiling Tickle Me Elmo dolls with John Gotti Jr. and Julio Cesar Chavez. Space Invaders still blips in my mind. The 1984 Utopia. Hey, Mom, I got the high score. Bake me some cookies. Hesitate, you die. In 1984, Reagan won the landslide. In 1984, nothing would overtake Atari or Van Halen. I do not have an imagination, but goddamn, I certainly do have a vision. John Sway was the man of the 90s. And this, of course, is physical copies. Oh. Yeah. He detached himself years ago, spent every night this week with his face in his phone, or making excuses why he cannot come home. What is he looking at for so many hours? Where does he go? What is it that captivates him so? You respect his privacy, but you also have a right to know. Maybe he only wants the girlfriend experience instead of the reality. Perhaps he can only cope with false intimacy. Or maybe it just took this long to discover that his natural disposition can easily be described as unpleasantly empty. Maybe in his mind, he's only got 8 months left to live. Maybe he's just too afraid to be embarrassed. Or maybe he only cares about his ease of convenience. You figure that he can't even remember the memories that you treasure. You catch him glancing at you and wonder if he's recalling something he once heard Mr. Blackwell say. The more hardware, the less personality. What does he spend his money on? All you know is that he never has enough. And he doesn't buy the things that he used to show interest in. And he certainly hasn't gotten you a gift in months. He doesn't seem to respond to your new clothes, makeup, or perfume. And then there's the most disconcerting fact when you realize that even the implants won't bring him back. This is from a book I did a long time ago. It's called Set. Like crying while being burned by the sun, fingers stuck down the throat of the past, cracking your plaster features against the floor. Soul matches soul, grace matches honesty. Every man is beholden to his neighbor. I don't believe in eye for an eye or in society's poorly written fiction. I think the flesh is a spirit to itself. Demonic blessing in the out-of-tune wailing, cursing because you can't hide the awkwardness. Death has nothing to do with the becoming. Truth has nothing to do with prettiness. Cleansed in the scar of a dream. Mother superior with stretch marks, the killer who believes they're helping the victim, your spirit with stab wounds. Grounded between the impulses and actions is the confused motivation, the abstraction, the disavowal, the belief of sin in hindsight. The flesh is a spirit to itself. Rejection of your own heart, a forgotten rotting of intuition, degenerates down to a crude set of stupid demands, throwing away the power to be eliminated, consciously denying decay, exposed to nothing but dirty air, a germ inside a scab. This is called Submerging. My thoughts stop. My muscles go slack. I sink into the gray water. I rise, pick up shells, and see something inside. I see a spotlight bathed in cream, turtles swimming slowly, and bioluminescent plankton out past the reef. I am not the follower. I have nothing to prepare for. I am not the leader. I've got no form. At this moment, I'm no one's son, except for my father's father's father. My head stays underneath. No new oxygen, but for the time being, I've got all I need. I'm not the follower. I've got nothing to wait for. I'm not the leader. I'm just being born. At this moment, I'm no one's son, except for my mother, the clouds, the sun, the land, the water. All is one. All is one. I have come. All is one. Open reach. All is one. To infinity. All is one. Circle soul. All is one. Bird's beak. All is one. Silver seed. All is one. We have come. This is called Should I Go In? The silver pepper mill whispers to the hammer that she's an airport. And though she never really shows anybody, I still know that in fact that she's an airport. If you stop at her coffee shop, she'll charge you extra for a plastic top. The well-water ice cubes have heard this tale told before, but she's an airport. A zebra's chewing gum can confirm the reports that she's an airport. If you take off your shoes after the security stop, she'll throw them in the air and they'll land in the baggage cart. Run down the runway into the center of the day where the sun is pointing to the ground. Reach all the way down to touch your toes and remember a story that you'll want to pass along someday. Run down the runway into the center of the day where the sun is pointing to the ground. Reach all the way down to touch your toes and remember a story you'll want to pass along someday. Cessna Tropria Dina Retaf Saya Maraf Dele Fetunrak Sklats Raretam Saya Idnak Irak Kaf Ganinix Evet Kelfer Selbuab. She's an airport, and her father is a farm filled with corn stalks. Her mother is a candy factory spinning reflective baubles. If I could implicate, if I could talk to you, I will some more. And just like in today's world of opinion and denunciation and admirable like in pictures and friendliness and outward inliness, maybe I'm on the thrust of that. She dreamed she was a train draped in robin's egg lace. She couldn't keep still in one place. She dreamed she was a train running on the 4th of July, filled with whipped cream to burst and streamers to fly. She dreamed she was a train running past the impound lot, and every platform on the route she'd whisper, I still love Phil. I have, and I always will. To know him is to love him, and to know him through his heart is the single most profound way of knowing him. She was sad when they closed the gates at night. She dreamed she was a train filled with die-cast metals and die-cast metal engines and cowboy hats, ordered by the civil rights worker's favorite daughter. She dreamed she was a train, her earrings flashing orange lights. She waves hello to the one car she'd stopped at the tiny suburban crossing, a train to get the tracks loose and rattling. Rattling tracks reminds her of those aunts and uncles talking over each other at her grandma's birthday, wondering why they're here, how they got here. Why is that man's forehead so lumpy? Old people with names like Buster and Dez, their faces hyper-real depictions, their wrinkles seemingly forged before time itself, all making sucking sounds against their dentures, like trying to keep their dentures to stay in place, arguing about baseball statistics and the price of grapes and what route they used to get there that day. All arguing over each other at her grandma's birthday. Birthday! I wrote this when I was 16. It's called Prostate of the Union. Well, it's been fourscore for you living in the sweet depression sanctuary of solitude. I laugh behind your back and call you honky with an attitude, because you fool yourself cohabitating in reality banality, too high on yourself to taste your own mortality. I'd love to slap you, but I'm just too sweet for brutality. My fairy feller friend wallows in his Gen X apathy. He cuts his right hand just to see it bleed. He'll never realize life's more than his own room, you see, because he got soul down the river working from 8 till 3. Little lost soul coasting on puppy dog love, listening to wedding bells and chasing all the doves. Well, friend, open your eyes wide, because the girl screwing in the corner you picked for your bride, too warped with illusions to see that she lied, so go to a party and get your brain cells fried. So now I roll with the suburban poet god Moses, bought into it all and pricked himself on the roses, thought he was above the hype slang and the scene, woke up one day from his marijuana dream and spent the rest of his youth just trying to keep clean. What a waste, said the sheriff when he arrived at the scene, but her individuality came at a price. Dyed the hair purple and tossed the social dice. Her floodlight parties were a big ol' smash, but lack of skater pants brought on the backlash. Now she sits there just like wet ash, garbling the words, where the hell's my stash? Now take a look at girlfriend sitting all on her own. Got no one to call, don't even got a home, ripping off the talk and copping the look. Be sure to be cool and read all the right books. Dealing with the devils, trying to make some time, ain't got no thoughts, so she tries to leech mine. Sounds like a fool when she calls up and whines. And they'll all spend their lives standing in checkout lines. And they fucking well did. Lest we forget. This is another older one. This is called Guess. The soundscapes fly from dusk, sterility restricted to their thoughts, bleak as the day they were born. But the concrete is in a state of flux, and the forest lies under a soiled blanket of lucid dreams. Pale-faced disintegration in the awestruck, penniless, geometric cluster, and its meaningless tradition. For some quiet, they'd drink shattered glass. For some peace, they'd murder a stillborn baby. Savages behind closed doors, but who commits treason and defines what's pure? With the precise rhythms and the headache medicine, memories seep through like blood under a fingernail. We never know when it's finished. The wave just rides. Preface to manifest slavery, entire chapters to write, planets of aliens to conceive. We never know when it's finished. The wave just rides. Oh, yeah. How could I forget? It's called Windy Sequins. Through the missing bricks, you can see a banquet table with a candelabra crooked from water-falling wax. On the other side of the missing bricks is a tablecloth with faintly gray claw stains left by mourning doves. Through the missing bricks, there is a banquet table, heaving with indentations from apples, persimmons, cantaloupes, and pears. On the other side of the missing bricks, there is a deer walking in the distance while a finger painting floats to the ground. Through the missing bricks, there is a banquet table with unopened telegrams and sturdy silver trays stacked with books about the Enlightenment. On the other side of the missing bricks, there is a pebble garden placed on a tree branch next to a mortar and pestle. Through the missing bricks, there is a banquet table, lined along the bottom right edge with bowls of cold dandelion soup. Seated 45 degrees away from the banquet table is a man with a salt and pepper waxed mustache humming waltzes and complaining about the distortion of sounds and colors. 110 years old, and he doesn't know that electric blue can be beautiful too. I promise this is going somewhere. This is called Life Isn't Hard. The hour ends. The light bends down into a bluish brown. This man can program situations from his fingertips into any town. Inch by inch, the ground grows thin. The twin and his father begin to cause alarm. The taxi quits, the street spits its cement in the air. The rider grows quieter, seeing the broken glass hang from her hair. Inch by inch, the ground grows thin. The bankers begin signing citations for fraud. Congratulations around the table. Plans are made to auction any residual materials. The phone rings. The professor brings flowers to the cement. The student laughs, burns charts and graphs to everyone's amusement. Inch by inch, the ground grows thin. The anchormen begin questioning their cause. I got Earth at a fingertip, the speed of rotation. Did you see the loss of gravity in the city? People's umbrellas and sunglasses floating around. The water was flowing through State Street. People were swimming over the ground. Did you see the cops throw off their badges and dismantle their guns? They got on top of their squad cars, on their knees, worshiping the sun. I got Earth in a fingertip. Fire holes surround the parched, silent fields of brown, and soon they will be flaming out and leave a puff of smoke. Merry cries under autumn skies sink the isolated dream in its distance blurring view. Nora wrote about the vanished boat that tried to dock off the Irish coast and sailed in between the mists, was never seen again. Replacement folks in their town, the clocks are all tightly wound, and people can't decide if it's illusion or if it's true, but I know there is less of me and almost nothing left of you. The frenzy took over. The reverie increased elucidation. The foundation was accumulated. It's called Mirror God. Mirror God, by any other name, call it Jesus, call it Muhammad, the healer of 1,000 illusions. Call it your heart, call it the will of life. Mirror God, forward, past, present, two mirrors facing each other, looking at forever, a window where people think there's a prison trapped on the reverse side of the reflection. The judgment you make on the mirror is what you have to carry. Your mirror is going to get too heavy. Mirror God, maker of weather, conjuring storms, commanding them to disappear. Whenever you think in truth, it's right. Both the question and answer, mentality of a projector playing on the mirror. Mirror God, maker of 1,000 miracles, the way through, staring back at each instant captured, recreating elements of time without fracture, thought and movement filmed in the future. Alone now, just a matter of time. Are you afraid you'll become what you read? Do you trust nothing you hear but everything you see? Are you too terrified to experience creation without authorization? Do you need to ask what is a revelation? Are you too clenched to explore ideals, too timid to create ideals, too terrified you'll carve false idols, too choked to think through and past their guiding principles? Your mind, your eyes, your genitals, your soul, all under a stranger's control. Who decides what's apt? Are you too inadequate to say, your moral compass too misshapen? Who makes your rules? What are their qualifications? That they read the same books you did and chose to abstain from the things that make us human? And you feel victimized and wronged, convinced you are right, but I'll make the bet that you only seek sources to reinforce what you believe is already correct. Infallibility is sterility. I'm willing to risk the mistake, to be forsaken, ignored, to be the fool on the floor. The truth, the purified milk, runs more real than established Sunday social circles. I wish you'd refuse to be weak and shaken by an inherited mentality. You believe the Pope is pure, his integrity, his family tree, or because he says it's true? Well, God's will is still a mystery, and my guess is me and you are both God too. Do you also believe in the monarchy, that their blood is pure and blue? Do you automatically accept your lowly inferiority at the sight of robes, jeweled hats, and pompous ceremony? And when I say we're God, that doesn't mean do whatever to whomever. Freedom is free, and freedom is also the responsibility of individuality. Freedom is community without enforced morality. Freedom is God without equivocations or boundaries. I took the things teachers and theologians parents told me very seriously and assumed they were imparted with great sincerity. Turns out it was all arbitrary, an exercise in spirit snapping, an exercise in psychological entrapment. I wasted time in conversation untangling the lines, time taken out of my life and yours. Each law we thought we had to follow, each pointless ritual, all that hollow reverence for bells, books, and candles. It's obvious your parents failed you, but that doesn't mean you succumb to self-betrayal. Doesn't mean you deny your pain and start their pattern again. You treat religion like choosing a career, a college, a car, vote against civil rights for homosexuals, reproduce because contraception is banned and abortion is evil. They play a numbers game, and they figured out a way to create more and more drones and tools, and you'll send your children to their schools, and they'll ingest the same words and absorb the same behavioral tics in between rote memorization. You did your part to create yet another hypnotized generation, convincing emotion on command, looking good when someone types their name into a search engine, your intuition, your eyes, your genitals, your soul, all under a stranger's control, controlled in the body, controlled in the mind. You get told when and how to have sex, when to smile, when to kneel, when to be quiet, and when to kill. And of course you support the troops and you support the attempted genocide in Israel because you're a friend of Israel with no friends who are Jewish, who couldn't be more American. And I wish we could lay waste to and you wish you could lay waste to Iran and make every Muslim knee bend in front of Old Glory waving proudly while the Nicene Creed is broadcast overhead. You know nothing about the Taliban other than never forget 9/11. You were cheering on the inside when Saddam Hussein got hanged, just like every good Christian never gave a second thought to the Benazir Bhutto assassination. I'm not kept out of heaven. The company is locked in like neutered animals, pristine and afraid to deal with sin. Righteousness and sin are a complete protein in all our genes, inextricably linked. Without devils, there are no angels. Without discipline, there is no release of tension. Do I love Jesus? Yes, I do, and Buddha and King and Gandhi and whoever else I choose. I love these people enough not to worship the truth teller, but to live with the truth. If Gandhi had been from the West, he'd have a statue on every U.S. street corner. If Gandhi had been from the West, he'd be seen as the second coming of Christ. But Gandhi was not from the West, and not a Catholic or a Protestant. Westerners are still condescending about his clothes and accent. His achievements aren't even understood by people in my country. If Gandhi was alive now, he'd be seen as a terrorist threat. And it just shows how fraudulent present American spirituality is, that they have to protect this image of the death of the Messiah and can't possibly accept that these ideas don't meet their end in crucifixion, but constantly live over and over in known and unknown people across the planet. You might say, but it works for me, it brings me peace. But those are the same excuses a drunk or a junkie makes, or someone terminally lazy. The people lying to you want your soul, and eventually they will come to collect. And aren't you tired of the same arguments and justifying the same attacks that go back to the Crusades and to the Roman raids on the Parthians in ancient Iraq? Don't you want some transcendence, some correlation between thought and act? Do you ever think that this isn't natural? Your mind, your eyes, your body, your soul, all under a stranger's control? I can't yell this out at you anymore. I'm sick of the same arguments, sick of the same attacks, sick of a second-rate reality and tenets that simply do not make sense. I can't stand these laws. They are unnatural. Your mind, your eyes, your body, your soul, all under a stranger's control. I believe in the power of prayer. I believe that God is everywhere. When I sleep in my bed, a mirror hangs overhead. I have seen the power of prayer achieve miraculous things, amazing things. I believe in the power of prayer. I believe that God is everywhere. You know it's in my heart. 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 Called Cheltenham Girl. Like a cloud, beautiful sound, standing before the signal. When the light shines on the ground, it reflects off the wheel. Parking lot next to the short building on the edge of the desert. She sees it's harder to be a number when you're starting out as a visitor. Cheltenham Girl. Clouds can't create the shapes they make or hold onto any rain. Precious, temporary, holding no domain. No machines, no cell phone or computers clicking through broken links. Credit card, social security needed. She will refuse to register. And she really will. Cheltenham Girl. Every day, another wish, another mile, closer to the point where I can portray it. Until then, all I'll do is sing to her spirit, and she will return. It's called Last Night We Saw an Angel. Last night we saw an angel, the most beautiful woman alive. I've never seen anyone more graceful. She conducted every sound in flight. Last night we saw an angel. She tiptoed across our hum. She exercised her will. She made the light move faster from the sun. Last night we saw an angel, the most beautiful woman alive. She stopped the pageant and calmed the lightning in the sky. It's called Parallel Place. I live in a parallel place where the land is level, where the streets are bright in the evenings, and I know what tomorrow brings. I live in a parallel place where the wind is cold, where gray haired men sweep the bandshell and foxes sleep under church bells. I hear the lank haired women walking in the morning, their faces shaped by the sun. I live in a parallel place where there's endless electricity with very low voltage, where everyone dies of old age. I live in a parallel place where rain runs into a tunnel, where able bodied women clear the gutters and dragonflies rise in a slow motion flutter. I see the able bodied men hauling fallen branches, their faces shaded by the sun. I live in a parallel place where people speak in peace, where the foreman's spouse greets the mailman in a see-through blouse. I live in a parallel place where the forest faces east, where contracts are written in invisible ink and codes are created with a wink. I see all the people breathing through the day, their faces graced by the sun. Blissful cardinals, blissful infants, blue reflections magnified 10,000 times, blue beams bouncing off aged lenses. Radiant artifacts, radiant heirlooms, white sails blistered by the salty sun, white china stacked up in cupboards, shining domes, shining necklaces, green feelings balanced on a yardstick, green parchment weighted down by grapes. This next piece is actually, I don't know that we're going to do that one. I'm going to do another older one. I'm doing a few of these. It's good to do some of these older ones sometimes. This is called It's All Just a Toot and a Snore. It's about a phenomenon that doesn't really exist anymore. It exists in different ways. We'll put it that way. It has shape-shifted into something else, but the specific of this doesn't really exist as it used to, but you can apply it, to the present day if you really would like to. Or you can see it as a snapshot from its time. Whatever you like. It's all just a toot and a snore. Sitting watching TV, another preacher choked by greed, and it's making my eyes bleed. It's not God that he sees, but it's money that he needs. So I asked, what is religion? Because it ain't about crucifixion or the Sermon on the Mount, because it's your pledge that counts. And I can't see why people fly to the system that's tried to buy, pry, and lie to your soul. Take control of your mind. Don't be blind. We are all divine, and you are not their kind. So don't take stock of a man selling God to a trailer house block. If he really knew the Lord, his woman wouldn't be gorged. More makeup than a whore. It looks like Zsa Zsa Gabor. The litany of the Trinity holds some back, and their psyche cracks from the Bible on their backs. Don't be a slave to salvation. Make no hesitation to see what you've missed. Already made St. Pete's list, because I pissed on a fundamentalist. Hmm. Along those same lines, this is called Lazy Angels. Squat woman sealed in a shadow frock, trimmed in white absence of light, selling stories from her garden that she demands are heard, but is greeted with the silence of the crowd's indifference. She doesn't already know that we can breathe and that we can leave, and will. She can't see that we already can walk through doors and open windows. Counterfeit profits steals the locks, illegal sun, zero as one. Selling pictures of her dinner her guards are obliged to buy, even as her art collection is vanishing until the walls have nothing left hanging. She doesn't already understand that we can perceive, that we can receive. She can't see that we can paint flowers with any colors that we can imagine, and we can fucking imagine all of them. Sister, their far and distant minds are trails best left behind. Sister to her father stops the drain under a rotting stage 6 month wage, selling reports carefully whispered in hopes her wealthy relatives will let her sign their wills first. She doesn't already know that we are her, twice as much or more, a complete verse. She can't see the red and gold bird flying right above. She can't see that we are her, twice as much or more. She can't see that she hands her keys to a steed who gallops away, away into the orange rolling hills. Orange rolling hills. Orange rolling hills, orange rolling hills. Mm. This is called Canary Milk. Sweltering sun in the forecast, but it's raining right now. Retired teens nostalgic for holograms as their granddads watch rocks roll on the ground and wonder when they can be farmers in glass pods on Mars. While Amanda eats factory fresh candies and laughs jaggedly at vulgar stories. The boy who awoke in the toy aisle one evening moved more elegantly than his mother had ever seen as he picked items off a worn, well folded list before deciding he'd rather have a pet eel instead. While Amanda watches her neighbors bickering and daydreams deleted scenes from their past. The delivery man is ready for the weekend as he ignores reports on the European heat wave, instead marveling about the new house on his route and how much it must cost each month to keep the swans fed and the water in the lagoon fresh. While Amanda feels no urgency to call back her agency and laughs at people voluntarily photographing their chores. It's called Investigating Mitsy. She rides around the merry-go-round, wearing satin slippers, chewing pink peppercorns. Her eyes are a miracle in the way they paint names in the minds of rain clouds. The lightning reaches out to introduce itself. The Queen of Atlantis draws filigree for the king while he's taking his bath. Bristling lips kiss the teeth of the key ring and lick ankles in math. She holds a bouquet of clarinets, wearing a lavender herringbone robe and nodding at buckets of soap. Her elbows hold her weight on the sand dune decorated with still wet seashells and teacups half filled with a treacle she pours onto tree roots. The Queen of Atlantis plans where the French and English will meet. The king eats suckling pig and excites the court over soaking his feet. This is called Naïve. If you voted Democrat, did you vote for endless war and rebuilding the fucking border wall? You probably didn't. So it begs the question, why did you vote Democrat? I think there should be 46 political parties. If we're going to smash binaries, let's smash them all. Aren't you tired of ones and zeros? It's called naive. I'm told that I'm naive for being a pacifist. The pacifism can't work, will never work. Is it naive to believe that human beings can live without the mutilation and destruction of each other? I don't think that's naive at all. I think it's naive to think that we can't make any progress, that we're stuck with our worst images, trapped by bloodlust, captured by the racism of nationalism, that will never improve, that we're nothing but doomed. Someone who thinks that suffering is necessary is naive. Someone who thinks that war is in our spirit is naive. Someone who thinks that sometimes you have to kill is naive. It takes courage to not extract revenge. It takes courage to see through someone else's weakness. It takes courage to not be blindly led into being an executioner. It takes courage to know that human beings have no reason to kill each other and that no situation calls for violence against another. It's called Would You Sell the Relics? One more time. One more time. One more time. The general that only cares about tomorrow also expects everyone to echo the same expression, and when the general can no longer see the power of their influence, they try and exert control over any small circumstances under their command, while the brigadier general worries to no one if they need a transfusion. The colonel, who's concerned that not enough people's fingerprints matches theirs, requires a warning on the front page of each report, along with a summary cut together by a subordinate in a matter of minutes so they don't have to waste any energy generating any contradictory thoughts, while the captain enters their coordinates so their location is known and updated every moment, which leaves the captain free to make discoveries like the wheel or gravity, then sell their findings to the executives or campaign staff of their choice, urged by a strong sense sense of benevolence, a tribute to charity as a force. And the first lieutenant's unmatched love of history is proven by the pictures taken of their parents with Goebbels in Brazil in the 70s. And the second lieutenant's jealousy shows and grouses to one, "That's not Bart Goebbels, it's clear that it's Martin Bormann." The sergeant major that reset the standards of esprit de corps doesn't know the panic they'll feel a few short years later when they are urged out of the way, or that they'll become stiff with resentment and resolute in their calls for punishment and institute measures to monitor how the company behaves, while the staff sergeant writes on a photo of themselves, "The future points to you," and daydreams about collecting the remaining virginities from the sorority house down the road. And they already have the names, ages, and weights in a frequently updated database. Then the staff sergeant complains about commercials before content. The chief warrant officer who breaks ranks to research the order the alphabet was created in gets rueful about seeing themselves age and attending charity events, funerals, and hospital visits, seeing their face in the mirror more washed out than before, wondering as they write their commencement address, who will even be paying attention in the audience, drinking from puddles, seeing what the sky says, not being able to read handwriting as children. Puzzle. And to the private, it's all an eye roll, and all so boring and shallow. To see another round of legacy shut out by an offhand remark, the private doesn't ask any of the officers where they should start. What's the matter where rebellion is kitsch and trauma is Walmart? The specialist greets the private. They each think that the other is a dilettante, and later the specialist considers, what's the matter where you have 1,000 followers and not a dozen supporters? Would you sell the relics? It's called Transformacion. One more time. The gold wing, gold leaf, ivory elevator doors open to reveal a portrait of an orchard, saying, "This wicker basket contains every memory you've ever had, so if you've got a purple number, come over, pull out a slip, and start to reminisce." Me and my sister playing parlor tricks in the back seat while Dad turns up the radio to drown us out. Then he leads down, increasing speed on the way to the dog show. Come over, and pull out another favorite. Semi-finalist in the quarterfinals of our school district's annual spelling bee. And I got here on an easy word. Charisma. Afterward, we went out for ice cream cake. Even though Mom wanted bagels, we let her hold the trophy as sort of a consolation prize. Transformacion! The baby blue lagoon gull wing elevator doors open to a balloon crooning in a soprano profundo. Today you're in a classroom sitting between a magic wand and a sprinkler, behind a rhinoceros and in front of a stethoscope, ready to make toothpaste out of erasers, lipstick, and hairspray. Today you're in a classroom and the substitute teacher is Adeline, a 102-year-old oak tree, and you're making her birthday presents for her best friend. You're ready to make nylons out of eyeliner and passport pages filled with stamps of horse-shaped signatures. Transformacion! The pleated red one elevator doors open to reveal a singing taxi. Today it's your birthday, and you get served breakfast in bed on a star-shaped black and white television set, blinking lights on the pillow heads, milk on a blue and white dress. Today it's your birthday, and you get a pink and blue book with pages to fill in, with drawings of budgies and juice boxes, rainbows of erasers, crisp bubble gum in between mint baseball cards. The gull wing gold leaf ivory elevator doors open to reveal a portrait of an orchard transplanted to a beach. Today you're taking a surfboard out of a small bus while watching a girl girl pick up a wallet that fell from her purse, while your head is plate glass and your arms are oars and your hands are rafts. Today, you're making videos on the boardwalk of people roller skating while holding umbrellas, or eating ice cream off of towels while your mouth is a string, swimming in circles while daylight is young, and they intend to dream to visit a visiting plan full of pleasant flang tones rhyming ever so timely and something misheard and turned into a quiet joke among monks and other brethren ein fair. And this is our last piece of the night. This is, of course, Dance the Night Away. Any second now, man. All right, let's do it. A blue wave sprayed gently onto the window. It remained an unfaded crescent reaching over the rooftop. Birds flew through untethered. Droplets yawned in sonorous applause. The shape succumbed, giving way by matching passing movements. As when water splashes in the sky, a maypole stands unraveled, while a sunfish kisses a butterfly. The fences were then a canvas, soaked tissue paper sprung over electrical wires, fragile fork tails freshly shaven, as bronze tiger beetles glanced up at the heavens. Dance the night away! All right, everybody. We hope that you enjoyed this, and hope that you had a lot of fun. By the grace of God, we will be back next week. I'm sorry that we weren't here last week, but you know, things happen. And next week, actually, we might be a little later in the week because I'm getting my second vaccination. Hopefully, you are getting vaccinated as well. If you are an anti-vaxxer, I would just simply say, remember this. If the vaccination was good enough for Jella Biafra, it's good enough for you as well. So don't be silly. So anyway, let us hear the quarantine stream theme one more time, shall we? Beautiful. All right, everyone. Like I said, we will be back a little bit later next week than usual because hopefully next week I'm getting my second vaccination shot. So who knows? I'll probably be groggy and exhausted. So yeah, other than that, like I said, by the grace of God, we will be back next week. Until then, stay safe, stay smart, and stay free. Because you already are. Huh? Yes. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed, and yeah, thanks for watching. All right, goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.